Hey everyone. So I hope everyone's doing well during these crazy times, staying safe. So the topic for tonight is different warning signs of human trafficking and sex trafficking in children. My last video discussed that the average age for sex trafficking is 12 to 14 years. And that is very alarming. And with the media and everything, that's the biggest thing that is being covered up right now as we speak, actually. So I'm going to go ahead and talk about it. The two websites that I got the resource from, and I'm the type where I like to check my resources. The best resources to get any information from is .edu, .org, or .gov. Because like Wikipedia, anyone can go on and edit. They can post any information that they want. And ironically, a lot of people go on Wikipedia. So, and that's not my go-to. So the biggest thing that I'm going to, again, talk about is warning signs of human and sex trafficking when it comes to children. Alright, so here are some of the warning signs that people could pay attention to. Chronic runaway and homelessness. When it comes to homelessness, that's a huge deal when it comes to children. There's a lot of children that are being taken, and a lot of homelessness within children too, even here in the United States. Random excess amount of cash. Like if a teenager has random amounts of cash and they don't even have a job. I mean, they've changed the labor laws so much that, when I was younger, I was able to work at the age of 14, and I know like they've increased that to the age of 16. So again, if they have an excess amount of cash, that is another warning sign. Random hotel keys or key cards, like if they randomly have key cards or whatnot, they're probably being ran as sex trafficking. Lying about age and fake IDs. Although I will disclaim that some of these don't always apply, but these are just some of the warning signs that I came across. When it comes to fake IDs, a lot of teenagers had fake IDs. I know when I was in high school, I was looking for a fake ID. That's common for youth. But in regards to sex trafficking, that is another warning sign, is lying about age and having a fake ID. Unwilling to give their address. If you approach someone that's just standing by themselves, a young female or even a young boy, because boys can be sex trafficked. That's just a known factor, and it's not really mentioned too much that this can happen with boys as well. But if you're approaching someone, that's just standing by themselves, like at an airport or whatever, and they're not willing to give your address, I mean, maybe they're skeptical, but typically if they're standing by themselves, an airport, bus terminal, whatever, even the street corner, most times that has to do with sex trafficking. And I will also add from my last video that the 3 top states is California, Texas, and Florida. Although it does happen across the United States as well as the world. Another thing is fear of another person, specifically an older boyfriend or a male. If they show signs of being intimidated or whatnot, that could be either physical abuse or they're going through human trafficking. Again, one of my previous videos talked about 0.04% of people who are involved in human and sex trafficking are found. Only 0.04% are actually recognized. So an increase of reported sex partners at a young age, for parents, that's definitely a huge thing to watch out and to be mindful. Like, if they are changing their behaviors, and they're becoming more rebellious, if they're having more sexual partners, that's something to definitely be aware of. Signs and injuries of physical abuse. Random bruises, scrapes, and if they're making up excuses under your care, parents, this is important to understand. If they are making up excuses for any signs or injuries of physical abuse, oh, I fell at school, whatnot, something to be aware of. Their demeanor exhibiting fear, anxiety, depression, submissiveness, and then nervousness. That's a huge thing. If a child is not enrolled in school, or if they continuously repeat school absence, that's another indicator that they could be part of human trafficking. They do not consider themselves a self-victim. They make up excuses for their abuser. They don't see anything wrong with it because they're in denial, even though clearly their behavior is changing. Another thing, loyalty to positive feelings towards their pimp or human trafficker. Even though pimps are typically, not even typically, they're abusers. Normally, when it comes to a cycle of abuse or somebody who's getting out of sex trafficking, human trafficking, they will have a continuous desire to remain loyal to the pimp, to the person that was trafficking them. And again, the biggest thing is they will have a tendency to protect the pimp or the person who brought them into human trafficking from authorities. And then, a random prepaid cell phone. A random prepaid cell phone is typically called a burner, if no one knows what that is. Just because having a prepaid cell phone, you can easily just get rid of it. Those are some huge indicators. So another indicator is appearing malnutrition. I can never say that word. But they're underweight. They look like they're not healthy. Another thing is they're continuously avoiding eye contact, social interaction, and authority figures and law enforcement. If they are, avoiding law enforcement at a young age, you're at a young age. If you're not doing anything wrong, you should really not feel fearful of authority. But typically, when it comes to sex trafficking or human trafficking, they do avoid eye contact a lot, and I'll explain that more later on in the video. Another thing, they're lacking identification documents. They could appear to be, somebody who is not from this country, or even somebody who is from this country, and they do not have any identification documents, meaning a social security card, a birth certificate, a school ID. Those are the three biggest ones where they do not have official ID documentation. They lack personal possessions. So oftentimes it could be, somebody, a teenager, or even a young child on the side of the street. And I'm only giving an example of this. On the side of the street, and they're carrying a plastic bag. That's another indicator. They're just holding a plastic bag, just standing there. And they do not have a lot of personal possessions. working excessively long hours. Children should not be doing that even in high school. They should not be working excessively long hours. There's child labor laws for a reason. Another thing is living at a place of unemployment. Sorry, I jotted everything down, but living at a place of unemployment. So if they have a part-time job and they're just living there, they're sleeping there, it could mean that they're homeless, but it is something to be aware of. Checking into hotels and motels with older males, calling them daddy, which, if no one knows, when it comes to just this topic, if a young female or even a male is calling an older man daddy, it's a good indication that she's a child prostitute. It doesn't matter if she's 16, 17. She is underage, and that is against the law. So again, if she is calling an older male daddy and she looks like a teenager, contact authorities. Warn the hotel. Unless it's a rundown motel. Typically, the rundown motels know what's up. They know that there's some kind of tricking going on. And I'll explain what a trick is later on in this video. If they have poor physical and dental health, it's a no-brainer if you could tell that a teenager or a child is well taken care of. Untreated STDs. If your child continuously has UTIs or yeast infections or, those aren't STDs, but if they do have some form of untreated, the women anatomy, typically women will get yeast infections. It's common. There's over-the-counter medication, but if it is an untreated STD, that could be a huge indicator. Another thing is small children serving in a family restaurant. Children should not be serving in a family restaurant. Unless maybe it's family tradition. Not to stereotype, but oftentimes I know from my experience, I'll see, going to a Chinese takeout place, a 12-year-old will take an order or whatever, but if a child appears to be doing hard manual labor, that could be an indication. And no, I will disclaim this, I'm not referencing that all Chinese places are involved in human trafficking. Let's get that straight. Security measures that appear to keep people inside an establishment. It could be barbed wire inside a fence, bars covering inside the windows. That would be a good indicator that you should probably contact authorities if you have any indication. Not allowing people to go into public alone or speaking for themselves. One of the biggest indicators of control is not allowing somebody to speak for themselves. And oftentimes, what do pimps want? They want money, power, control. So if you are seeing what appears to be an older man with even a boy or a girl, and they're not allowing them to talk, and they don't have any resemblance of family, it's a good indicator that they could be involved in human trafficking. If they're keeping eyes on the ground at all times. So, the next video I'm going to talk about is street slang for pimps, and the street lifestyle when it comes to human trafficking. So please go ahead, subscribe my channel, comment, like, share. If anyone has any suggestions of what you want me to talk about, I will personally go ahead and research the topic and I will make a video. If you want to personally make a video, go ahead, drop it in my inbox and I will upload it. We need to protect the children. They are our future. When it comes to every single movement that we have, everyone else can advocate for themselves, but children cannot. So this is why I am huge on trying to start a movement for the children. Children are innocent. They don't have a voice. They cannot advocate for themselves. So please help me build volume with this. I'm not looking for money. I'm not looking for recognition. I don't want a founder. I don't want a CEO of if this ever hits big. I just want people to stand up for the children because I know there's a lot of people out there gearing to go to protect the children. Because out of anything, that's the most that I feel like I need to stand up for. So if you're with me, please do. Like, subscribe, comment, leave suggestions, anything. Let's get this out there. Let's show support and let's make a movement. Have a good night, guys.